Welcome to Just Listen Books channel. Immerse yourself in the world of literature as we summarize books and deliver them in audio form. Perfect for your car rides, travels, and daily activities. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl is a profound book that details Frankl's experiences as a prisoner in Nazi concentration camps during World War II, and it introduces his psychotherapeutic method, which involves identifying a purpose in life to feel positively about, and then immersively imagining that outcome. The book is divided into two main parts, followed by a postscript. Here's a detailed summary by chapters. Part 1. Experiences in a concentration camp. Chapter 1. Introduction to the camps. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl recounts the profound shock and psychological trauma experienced by individuals upon their arrival at Nazi concentration camps. This chapter serves as a stark introduction to the realities of camp life, setting the stage for the deeper exploration of human psychology under extreme conditions that Frankl will undertake. The arrival and initial shock. Frankl describes the process of arrival at the camps, highlighting the immediate and brutal stripping away of personal identity and belongings. New inmates were confronted with an environment designed to dehumanize and degrade, starting with the confiscation of personal effects, clothes, photographs, and any other items of personal value. This loss signified the beginning of an inmate's transformation into a mere number, erasing individuality and breaking down the psychological barriers that protect one's inner sense of self. Adaptation to the camp conditions. The chapter delves into the psychological numbing that followed the initial shock, a necessary adaptation for survival in the relentless and harsh conditions of the camp. Frankl discusses how this numbness was both a coping mechanism and a symptom of the overwhelming trauma faced by the prisoners. It served to dull the pain of daily atrocities, but also distance them from the very essence of their humanity. The stripping away of humanity. Frankl emphasizes the systematic approach used by the Nazis to strip inmates of their humanity. This was not limited to the physical removal of personal items, but extended to the constant humiliation, starvation, and the arbitrary cruelty that characterized life in the camps. The inmates were not treated as human beings, but as objects to be used, abused, and discarded without thought. The importance of inner life. Despite the external attempts to dehumanize them, Frankl notes that many inmates managed to retain a sense of identity through their inner lives. He introduces the idea that, while the Nazis could take everything tangible from the prisoners, they could not seize their thoughts or their will to find meaning in their suffering. This internal resistance becomes a central theme in Frankl's work, highlighting the capacity for human beings to maintain dignity and purpose under the most dire circumstances. The introduction to the camps sets the stage for the profound observations and insights that Frankl will share throughout Man's Search for Meaning. It presents the concentration camp not just as a place of physical suffering, but as a laboratory for observing the extremes of human psychology and the indomitable nature of the human spirit. Frankl's description of the initial incarceration process serves as a poignant reminder of the depths of cruelty humanity is capable of, as well as the remarkable resilience individuals can muster in the face of existential threat. Chapter 2. Daily Life in Auschwitz. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl provides a harrowing account of the everyday realities and struggles faced by inmates in Auschwitz, one of the most notorious Nazi concentration camps. Through his detailed narrative, Frankl not only chronicles the physical hardships, but delves deeply into the psychological impact of such an existence on the human spirit. This chapter is critical in understanding how the extreme conditions of camp life shaped the inmates' mental and emotional responses, leading to various coping mechanisms and adaptations. The brutal daily routines. Frankl begins by detailing the merciless daily routines that dictated life in Auschwitz. The day started before dawn, with inmates being roused from their overcrowded, filthy bunks and forced to stand for hours during roll call, regardless of weather conditions. Breakfast, when provided, was meager and barely edible, setting the tone for a day filled with hard labor, humiliation, and abuse at the hands of the SS guards in Capo. Frankl describes the grueling work assignments, which often involved back-breaking labor with no purpose, other than to exhaust and demoralize the prisoners. The struggle for survival. Survival in Auschwitz required navigating not only the physical dangers, but also the psychological warfare waged by the camp's overseers. Frankl discusses the constant struggle to maintain a sense of hope and humanity amidst the omnipresence of death. The fight for survival became a day-to-day ordeal, with inmates going to great lengths to secure an extra piece of bread or protect a friend from selection for the gas chambers. Frankl reflects on the resourcefulness and resilience that these conditions fostered, as well as the moral dilemmas and compromises that often accompanied survival strategies. The omnipresence of death. Frankl does not shy away from the stark reality of death in Auschwitz, describing it as a constant companion to the inmates. The specter of the crematoria, with its never-ending smoke, served as a grim reminder of the fate that awaited many. Frankl explores the numbing effect that such constant exposure to death had on the inmates, leading to a detachment that was both a survival mechanism and a source of guilt for those who lived while others perished. Psychological effects and coping mechanisms. One of the most profound aspects of this chapter is Frankl's exploration of the psychological effects of life in Auschwitz. He discusses the initial shock and subsequent phases of apathy, anger, and despair that many inmates experienced. Yet, amidst this suffering, Frankl identifies instances of camaraderie, sacrifice, and moments of beauty that provided solace and meaning. He highlights the importance of clinging to memories of loved ones and dreams of a future beyond the camp walls as vital coping mechanisms. Loss of hope and its consequences. Frankl addresses the devastating impact of losing hope on an inmate's chances of survival. He observed that those who lost the will to live often succumbed to the harsh conditions more quickly. This psychological surrender was marked by a decline in physical health and an increased likelihood of being selected for extermination. Frankl's insights into the interplay between hope, meaning, and survival would later form the foundation of his logotherapy, emphasizing the power of finding meaning in suffering. The chapter on daily life in Auschwitz serves as a crucial testament to the indomitability of the human spirit in the face of extreme adversity. Frankl's account goes beyond the physical descriptions of camp life, offering a deeply personal and psychological perspective on how individuals navigate the darkness of such experiences. His observations about the coping mechanisms, adaptations, and the critical role of hope and meaning in survival are not only relevant to understanding the Holocaust, but offer timeless insights into the human capacity to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Chapter 3. The Psychology of the Prisoners. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl delves into the complex psychological landscape of individuals imprisoned in concentration camps, with a particular focus on the varied responses to the extreme conditions of camp life. This section is pivotal in understanding how different coping mechanisms and psychological states influence the prisoner's ability to endure the horrors they faced daily. Frankl's observations are both a study in human psychology under duress and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Initial shock and subsequent emotional phases. Frankl outlines the initial psychological shock experienced by new arrivals, characterized by disbelief, denial, and a numbing disconnection from reality. This shock eventually gave way to a complex mix of emotions, including fear, despair, apathy, and, for some, a defiant will to survive. He details how these emotional phases were not linear but could vary widely among prisoners based on personal resilience, the presence or absence of support networks, and the sheer randomness of survival in the camps. Divergent psychological trajectories. Central to this chapter is Frankl's exploration of the divergent paths prisoners' psyches could take. He identifies two primary trajectories: those who succumbed to despair and those who managed to find a sense of meaning despite their circumstances. The former group, having lost all hope, often experienced rapid physical and psychological decline, becoming what were referred to as Muselmänner, the living dead, who were frequently the next victims of the gas chambers. Conversely, Frankl highlights the remarkable resilience of those who clung to hope and sought meaning in their suffering. These individuals often displayed a remarkable capacity to endure physical and emotional pain, attributing their survival to a sense of purpose or a duty to others, such as keeping alive the memory of loved ones or bearing witness to the atrocities. The search for meaning. A cornerstone of Frankl's theory, which he further develops in his psychotherapeutic approach called logotherapy, is the idea that finding meaning in suffering can be a powerful source of psychological resilience. He argues that even in the bleakest circumstances, individuals can choose their attitude toward their suffering and find a sense of purpose that sustains them. This search for meaning becomes a crucial survival mechanism, enabling prisoners to transcend their immediate circumstances and maintain a sense of identity and hope. The role of values and moral choices. Frankl also discusses how the extreme conditions of camp life stripped away the superficial layers of personality, revealing the core values and character of each individual. He observed that in such dire circumstances, the true nature of a person became evident, whether it was selfishness, apathy, courage, or altruism. The moral choices made by prisoners, whether to share scarce food or to comfort a fellow inmate, became significant acts of self-definition and sources of meaning. The psychology of the prisoners is a profound examination of the human capacity to adapt to and find meaning within the most dehumanizing conditions imaginable. Frankl's insights into the psychological responses of concentration camp. Inmates reveal the critical role of hope, purpose, and moral integrity in facing adversity. This chapter not only contributes to our understanding of the experiences of Holocaust survivors, but also offers timeless lessons on the resilience of the human spirit when confronted with the darkest aspects of human existence. Chapter 4. Spiritual Survival. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl delves into the profound ways in which spiritual beliefs and practices played a pivotal role in the psychological resilience and survival of prisoners in Nazi concentration camps. Frankl's personal reflections, combined with observations of his fellow inmates, offer a deeply moving account of how spiritual life became an essential lifeline amidst the horrors of camp existence. This section is a testament to the human capacity for finding meaning and solace in spirituality, even in the most desolate conditions. The essence of spiritual survival. Frankl posits that spiritual survival was not about the denial of the grim reality of the camps, but about finding a deeper layer of existence that transcended the immediate suffering. He observed that prisoners who engaged with their spiritual beliefs, or who found a way to express themselves artistically or maintain their inner moral values, often showed remarkable resilience. These individuals were able to tap into a source of strength and hope that was not contingent on the external world, which was marked by brutality and despair. Art and creative expression. Frankl recounts instances where art and creative expression became means of spiritual survival. Despite the scarcity of materials and the constant threat of punishment, some prisoners managed to create drawings, write poetry, or engage in clandestine discussions about literature and philosophy. These acts of creativity were acts of defiance against the dehumanization process, affirming the prisoners' identities and humanity. The role of religion. Religion played a crucial role in the spiritual lives of many prisoners, offering a framework for understanding their suffering and a source of comfort. Frankl notes that religious rituals, prayers, and discussions about theological matters became important aspects of camp life for believers. For these individuals, faith offered a sense of connection to a higher power and a belief in a larger purpose, which was instrumental in sustaining hope and a will to live. Inner moral values. Frankl emphasizes the importance of adhering to inner moral values as a component of spiritual survival. He observed that prisoners who remained true to their ethical principles, even when faced with extreme moral dilemmas, experienced a sense of inner freedom and dignity that could not be taken away by their captors. This adherence to a personal code of ethics, often at great personal risk, was a powerful affirmation of one's identity and humanity. The impact of spiritual resources on survival. Throughout the chapter, Frankl argues that these spiritual resources were not mere distractions from the grim reality of camp life, but were essential elements of psychological resilience and survival. He suggests that the ability to find meaning through spirituality, art, and moral integrity allowed individuals to see beyond their suffering and envision a future where they could reclaim their lives and identities. This forward-looking perspective was a crucial counterbalance to the pervasive atmosphere of hopelessness and despair in the camps. Spiritual survival highlights the indomitable nature of the human spirit and the profound capacity for resilience through spirituality, art, and adherence to moral values. Viktor E. Frankl's insights into the role of these spiritual resources in the concentration camps illuminate the ways in which individuals can retain their humanity and sense of self in the face of overwhelming adversity. This chapter is a powerful reminder of the essential role of spirituality and moral integrity in navigating the darkest moments of human existence. Chapter 5. The Last Phase. In the concluding chapter of the first part of Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor E. Frankl navigates through the complex psychological landscape that Holocaust survivors faced upon their liberation from the concentration camps. This phase marks a profound transition from the unimaginable suffering and dehumanization of camp life to the sudden, often overwhelming, freedom. Frankl's insights into this period shed light on the psychological challenges of readjusting to life outside the camps and the long journey toward healing and finding meaning after trauma. The delusion of reprieve. Frankl introduces the concept of the delusion of reprieve, a psychological state where prisoners, upon facing imminent execution, cling to a hope against hope for a last-minute reprieve. This phenomenon extends metaphorically to the period of liberation, where survivors, despite their freedom, initially struggle to grasp the reality of their situation. The abrupt transition from the constant threat of death to freedom induces a state of disbelief and disorientation, as survivors find it hard to believe that their suffering has truly ended. The psychological state upon liberation. The immediate aftermath of liberation did not bring the joy and relief one might expect. Instead, Frankl describes a period of emotional numbness and a void of feeling among survivors. The years of dehumanization, loss, and suffering had deeply impacted the survivors' ability to experience joy or pleasure in their newfound freedom. This numbness was a protective psychological mechanism, a buffer against the sudden shift from enduring daily horrors to confronting the normalcy of life outside the camps. The struggle to readjust to life outside. Frankl delves into the myriad challenges that survivors faced in readjusting to life outside the camps. The physical and psychological scars of their imprisonment made it difficult for them to reintegrate into a world that had continued without them. Survivors grappled with the loss of loved ones, the destruction of their homes and communities, and the need to rebuild their lives from scratch. Additionally, they had to contend with the stigma of being a camp survivor and the indifference or disbelief of those who had not experienced the camps firsthand. Overcoming bitterness and finding a way to move forward. One of the most significant challenges Frankl identifies is the struggle to overcome bitterness and the desire for revenge against those responsible for their suffering. He argues that succumbing to bitterness would only perpetuate the cycle of hatred and violence that characterized the Nazi regime. Instead, Frankl emphasizes the importance of finding meaning in the suffering endured and using it as a foundation for rebuilding one's life. He advocates for a forward-looking perspective, focusing on the possibilities of the future rather than the injustices of the past. The role of meaning in healing. Central to Frankl's thesis is the conviction that finding meaning in suffering is crucial for psychological healing and readjustment. He argues that survivors who could identify a purpose in their survival, whether it was to bear witness to the atrocities, to reunite with remaining family members, or to contribute to a better future, were better equipped to overcome the trauma of their experiences. This search for meaning provided a pathway out of the darkness of the past and into a life infused with purpose and hope. The Last Phase is a poignant exploration of the complex journey that Holocaust survivors embarked upon following their liberation. Viktor E. Frankl's insights into the psychological states of survivors, from the initial disbelief and numbness to the challenges of readjustment and the quest for meaning, offer a deeply human perspective on the aftermath of trauma. This chapter not only chronicles the struggles of survivors, but also highlights the indomitable strength of the human spirit to overcome bitterness, find meaning in suffering, and move forward with resilience and hope. Part 2. Logotherapy in a nutshell. Chapter 1. The Tenets of Logotherapy. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl introduces the foundational principles of his psychotherapeutic method, logotherapy, which is derived from the Greek word logos, meaning meaning. Logotherapy is premised on the belief that the primary motivational force of an individual is the pursuit of meaning in life. This concept marks a significant departure from other psychological theories of the time, which often focused on the pursuit of pleasure, as in Freudian psychology, or the pursuit of power, as in Adlerian psychology. Frankl's experiences in the concentration camps deeply informed the development of logotherapy, as he observed that those who could find meaning in their suffering were more likely to survive. Here we explore the basic principles of logotherapy and how it stands apart from other psychological approaches. The search for meaning as the primary motivation. Frankl posits that unlike the Freudian emphasis on the pleasure principle or the Adlerian focus on power and superiority, the fundamental human drive is the search for life's meaning. According to logotherapy, life has potential meaning under any circumstances, even the most miserable ones. This belief stems from Frankl's observations in the Nazi concentration camps, where he noticed that prisoners who held on to a sense of purpose or meaning exhibited greater resilience. The 3 ways to find meaning. Logotherapy suggests that meaning can be discovered in life in 3 primary ways. 1. Through work or deeds. Engaging in activities or creating work that feels significant to the individual can provide a profound sense of purpose. 2. Through experiences or encounters with others. Meaning can also be found through experiencing beauty, art, nature, or through loving relationships with others. The quality of these experiences can imbue life with meaning. 3. Through attitude towards suffering. When faced with unchangeable suffering, adopting a stance of courage, dignity, or choosing to grow from the struggle can offer a deep sense of meaning. This does not glorify suffering but recognizes the potential for transformative growth or deeper understanding through facing adversity. The concept of the will to meaning. Logotherapy operates on the concept of the will to meaning, contrary to the will to power or the will to pleasure. Frankl argues that individuals are fundamentally driven by a desire to find meaning in their lives. When this will to meaning is frustrated, individuals may experience what Frankl describes as an existential vacuum, a sense of emptiness and meaninglessness that can lead to depression, aggression, and other psychological issues. Existential analysis. Logotherapy includes existential analysis, which focuses on the individual's search for meaning and confronts the existential realities of life, such as death, freedom, isolation, and meaninglessness. This aspect of logotherapy challenges individuals to confront these realities and to find personal meaning in their lives despite them. The uniqueness of logotherapy. Logotherapy distinguishes itself from other psychological approaches through its focus on the future and what the individual can yet achieve or become. While traditional psychoanalysis might delve into an individual's past to uncover the roots of psychological issues, logotherapy looks forward, encouraging individuals to find purpose and meaning in their future endeavors. This orientation towards the future and the belief in the human capacity to find meaning under any circumstance is what sets logotherapy apart. The Tenets of Logotherapy outlines a hopeful and human-centered approach to psychotherapy that emphasizes the power of meaning and purpose in driving human behavior and resilience. Viktor E. Frankl's contribution through logotherapy offers a compassionate lens through which to view human suffering and the pursuit of a fulfilling life, highlighting the profound impact of meaning on psychological well-being and survival. Chapter 2. Finding Meaning in Suffering. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl explores one of the most profound and central tenets of logotherapy: the belief that suffering, though inherently undesirable, is not devoid of meaning. This perspective is a radical departure from the view that suffering is only something to be avoided or mitigated. Frankl posits that even in the depths of pain and despair, individuals have the capacity to find meaning through their attitudes and responses to their suffering. This chapter is an in-depth exploration of how suffering can become a pivotal point for personal growth and existential insight, highlighting the human ability to transcend even the most challenging circumstances. The inevitability of suffering. Frankl acknowledges that suffering is an inescapable part of the human experience, arising from various sources including loss, illness, and the existential pain of being confronted with life's finitude. However, he challenges the notion that suffering must lead to despair. Instead, he argues that suffering presents an opportunity for individuals to engage deeply with the essence of their existence. The choice of attitude. Central to Frankl's argument is the idea that individuals have the freedom to choose their attitudes toward their suffering. This choice represents the ultimate exercise of human agency, where one can decide to find meaning and purpose in suffering rather than viewing it as a meaningless or purely negative experience. Frankl famously stated, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." This encapsulates the essence of finding meaning in suffering, transforming personal tragedy into an opportunity for self-understanding, growth, or contribution to others. Suffering and meaning. Frankl suggests that meaning can be found in suffering in several ways. First, by accepting and embracing the reality of suffering, individuals can move through it with dignity and grace, thus endowing their experience with a sense of purpose. Secondly, suffering can lead to a deeper understanding of life and oneself, as it often prompts reflection on personal values, priorities, and the nature of human existence. Finally, suffering can be transformative, leading to personal growth or even the inspiration to help others, thereby creating a legacy that transcends the individual's pain. The transcendental quality of suffering. Frankl introduces the idea that suffering can have a transcendental quality, connecting individuals to a larger reality or contributing to a greater good. This perspective offers a way to bear suffering by embedding it within a broader existential or spiritual framework. For example, enduring suffering with courage, or using it as a catalyst for positive change, can be seen as contributions to the collective human experience. Personal responsibility and suffering. An important aspect of finding meaning in suffering is the emphasis on personal responsibility. Frankl asserts that individuals are responsible for how they respond to their suffering. This response can either elevate their experience into a source of meaning or lead to despair. The choice to find meaning in suffering is thus an expression of individual autonomy and strength. Finding meaning in suffering is a powerful exploration of how individuals can confront and transcend their suffering. Viktor E. Frankl's insights offer a hopeful perspective that challenges the conventional view of suffering as an exclusively negative experience. By advocating for the active search for meaning in even the most painful situations, Frankl provides a framework for resilience and a deeper engagement with life's challenges. This chapter is not only a testament to the human capacity to find light in the darkness, but also a call to embrace the potential for growth and transformation inherent in the human experience of suffering. Chapter 3. Existential Vacuum. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl addresses a widespread issue he observed in modern society, which he describes as the existential vacuum, a profound sense of emptiness and meaninglessness experienced by individuals. Frankl posits that this vacuum emerges from a lack of traditional sources of meaning, such as those provided by religion, community, and stable family structures, which have been eroded or transformed in the modern world. The existential vacuum manifests as a general malaise, a lack of purpose, and a feeling of being adrift in a world where traditional anchors of meaning no longer hold sway. This chapter delves into the causes of this phenomenon, its implications for individual and societal well-being, and how logotherapy proposes to address it. The nature of the existential vacuum. Frankl characterizes the existential vacuum as a condition of boredom, apathy, and inner emptiness. It's a state where life's activities seem pointless, and individuals struggle to find compelling reasons for living or engaging with the world around them. This condition often leads to an increased susceptibility to conformism, totalitarian ideologies, or addictive behaviors, as individuals desperately seek something to fill the void. Causes of the existential vacuum. Frankl attributes the emergence of the existential vacuum to several factors, including loss of traditional values. The decline of traditional societal structures and values leaves individuals without a clear framework for finding meaning in their lives. Industrial and technological advancement. While technological progress has liberated humans from many physical toils, it has also contributed to a sense of disconnection from meaningful, hands-on work and the natural world. Overemphasis on external success. A societal focus on external achievements, such as wealth and status, rather than on inner values and personal growth, has led to a crisis of meaning. Logotherapy's response. Frankl's logotherapy addresses the existential vacuum by reorienting individuals towards the pursuit of meaning as the primary motivational force in their lives. Logotherapy encourages individuals to discover personal meaning, engage in self-reflection to identify what is genuinely meaningful to them, beyond societal expectations or material success. Embrace life's challenges. View life's difficulties and challenges as opportunities to find meaning and purpose, rather than as mere obstacles to happiness. Cultivate inner values. Focus on developing inner values such as love, creativity, and altruism, which are less susceptible to the fluctuations of external circumstances. The will to meaning. Central to addressing the existential vacuum is the reinforcement of the will to meaning. Frankl argues that by fostering a strong desire to find meaning in life, individuals can overcome feelings of emptiness and purposelessness. This involves recognizing that life always offers opportunities for meaningful engagement, regardless of the situation. The role of responsibility. Frankl emphasizes the importance of personal responsibility in combating the existential vacuum. He suggests that realizing one's responsibility to find and create meaning in life is crucial for overcoming feelings of emptiness. This sense of responsibility empowers individuals to make choices that align with their deepest values and aspirations. The existential vacuum chapter in Man's Search for Meaning highlights a critical issue facing modern society: the widespread sense of meaninglessness and disconnection. Viktor E. Frankl's insights into the causes and solutions to this problem are as relevant today as when they were first written. By advocating for a renewed focus on the search for meaning, logotherapy offers a path out of the existential vacuum, encouraging individuals to embrace life's challenges, cultivate inner values, and assume responsibility for their own fulfillment and purpose. Chapter 4. The Will to Meaning. In this chapter, Viktor E. Frankl elaborates on the concept that lies at the heart of his psychotherapeutic method, logotherapy: the will to find meaning in life. Frankl asserts that the desire to discover meaning is a primary motivational force for human beings, surpassing even the basic drives for pleasure or power identified by other psychological theories. This chapter is dedicated to exploring how this innate drive can be fulfilled through various avenues, despite life's inherent challenges and sufferings. Frankl provides a profound insight into the human capacity for resilience, growth, and the pursuit of purpose. The fundamental nature of the will to meaning. Frankl begins by establishing the will to meaning as an essential aspect of human existence. He argues that people are not just driven by a need to avoid pain or to seek pleasure, but are fundamentally motivated by the quest to find meaning and purpose in their lives. This quest for meaning is what gives individuals the strength to endure hardships and to aspire towards something greater than themselves. Fulfilling the will to meaning through creative work. One of the primary ways in which individuals can fulfill their will to meaning is through engaging in creative work. Frankl posits that by creating something, be it art, literature, scientific achievements, or any form of work that contributes to the world, individuals can find a profound sense of purpose. This creative output allows people to leave a mark on the world, asserting their existence and their unique contributions to humanity. Finding meaning through experiences and encounters. Frankl also emphasizes the significance of experiencing something or encountering someone as a pathway to meaning. He highlights the importance of love, relationships, and interactions with nature, art, and beauty as sources of meaning that can enrich an individual's life. Through these experiences and encounters, individuals can transcend themselves, connecting with something larger that provides a sense of purpose and fulfillment. Adopting a positive attitude towards suffering. A crucial aspect of Frankl's discussion on the will to meaning is the ability to adopt a positive attitude toward unavoidable suffering. Frankl suggests that when faced with situations of unchangeable suffering, individuals have the freedom to choose their attitude towards their circumstances. By finding meaning in suffering, whether through viewing it as an opportunity for personal growth, as a way to demonstrate resilience, or as a chance to contribute to the welfare of others, people can transform a potentially despairing situation into one that is rich with purpose. The uniqueness of each person's quest for meaning. Frankl stresses that the quest for meaning is highly individual, and that what provides meaning to one person may not necessarily hold the same significance for another. This personal quest for meaning requires introspection and a willingness to engage deeply with one's own values, desires, and life circumstances. The will to meaning is a powerful testament to Viktor E. Frankl's belief in the human capacity to seek and find meaning in life, even under the most adverse conditions. By highlighting the various ways in which the will to meaning can be fulfilled, through creative work, experiences and encounters with others, and adopting a positive attitude toward suffering, Frankl provides a hopeful and humanistic perspective on life's potential for purpose and significance. This chapter reinforces the idea that the pursuit of meaning is not just a psychological drive, but a deeply existential one, offering a path towards fulfillment, resilience, and a profound engagement with the world. Postscript: the case for a tragic optimism. Tragic optimism. In the postscript, Frankl introduces the concept of tragic optimism, an attitude of optimism in the face of life's inevitable suffering, guilt, and death. He discusses how one can remain hopeful by finding meaning through love, work, and courage in difficult times. Man's Search for Meaning is more than a memoir of Frankl's experiences in the Holocaust. It is a message of hope and a call to find meaning in life, regardless of the circumstances. Through his own suffering and observation of others, Frankl offers insight into the resilience of the human spirit. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Your support means the world to us. Click subscribe and hit the bell to be the first to enjoy our upcoming audiobooks. Together, let's continue this amazing journey through stories and tales.